Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. My guest today is the esteemed director of the Howard University Jazz Ensemble. He's an in-demand trumpet artist, clinician, adjudicator, and consultant. Please welcome Howard University's own Mr. Fred Irby III. We ask you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is A Conversation in Jazz. Our guest today is the director of the prestigious Howard University Jazz Ensemble. He is also Principal Trumpet of the Kennedy Center Opera House Musical Theater and is in demand as a trumpet artist, conductor, clinician adjudicator, and consultant. He was recently inducted into the 2023 Downbeat Magazine Hall of Fame for Jazz Education, and he received the 2025 Legends Award for Jazz Education at the Jazz Education Network Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. Please welcome my Howard University Jazz Ensemble Director, one and only, Mr. Fred Irby III. How you doing, Mr. Irby?
Thank you.
Welcome to A Conversation in Jazz.
Thank you.
First, I want to congratulate you. What's this, 51 years?
Yeah.
As director at Howard University.
Right.
So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You know, you are really retiring this year.
Yes, I am.
You were supposed to retire last year, so what made you stay?
Oh, I had several students who were going to be, who are seniors this year, graduating. And they asked me to stay for their last year in college, and they twisted my arm.
Okay. Now, how does it feel? Like, what's the feeling like when you've been doing something so long, and then now you ready to give it up?
Well, I don't really have any feelings right now because I just retired. In fact, I'm still on the roster until like June 30th.
Okay.
But like, if you ask me like this time next year, I could give you a good answer.
Gotcha. Yeah. So anybody that came through the ensemble, you know, everybody got some stories, or what I call Irbyisms. You know, and I use some of them Irbyisms when I teach my kids.
Right.
Say, come on, I mean, what you doing, man? So everybody has these Irbyisms. But I have two stories, man, that changed my life. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but the first story, I was on the campus of Howard University, and for some reason, you came up to me and you said, "All men are not created equal." And when you said that, it just made everything make sense. Because at the time, I saw how unfair things were, you know. And so I carry that with me to this day, that all men are not created equal. So it made me find whatever my special thing was, my competitive advantage. And so the second thing was, I think it was my senior year, and I was a little cocky kid back at Howard, you know, thought I was all that. And so I think it was my senior year, and you made me audition for the jazz ensemble. You know, I've been in the jazz band for like 4 years. So I'm like, well, I got to audition. So I audition. And then when you put up the list, it said Antonio Parker, B band. You know, and I was in the A band up to there. So I said, what? I realized, you know, I was going, what? I'm in the B band. So what I realized at that moment was, oh, sometimes it's good to shut up. So I learned how to, from that moment, I learned the lesson of how the world works. And so I carry that with me today. That's why I'm not as crazy as I used to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but you never played in the B band, have you?
Yeah.
When?
That year.
Your freshman year?
No, my senior year. You put me in the B band.
Okay. I don't remember.
I know. But it was the best thing for me because at that time, you know, I was in my own world. You know, a lot of musicians, when they come to Howard, when they come to college, they have this idea of how the world works, and you know, and you really learn in school, okay, things are done a certain way. I spoke my mind, I was outspoken, you know, and you said, I'm gonna fix you, I'll fix you. So you put me in the B band. And I saw the list up there and I was gonna confront you. I said, oh, I'm gonna graduate. So I said, let me chill out. And so, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So what we do on here, man, we learn the story behind the story. Now everybody knows what you've done, your accolades as an educator, but I want to go and see how you got to that. So we're gonna go back and see where you came from and all that thing. I like to ask my guests about themselves. So I want to ask you, who is Fred Irby?
Okay, well, I'm a musician, professor. Mm-hmm. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. Play trumpet, I teach, and I try to be a positive role model for students.
Yeah, and you've been that. You from Mobile, Alabama?
Yeah.
Now I was always said we might be related because most of my family on my mother's side are from Alabama. Tillis. You ever heard of Tillis?
No.
Never heard that. So, but I got a bunch of cousins that I don't even know. So we might be cousins.
All right.
Now, what was it like coming up in Mobile, Alabama?
Well, it was quite challenging. You know, it was segregation.
You came up during segregation?
Oh yeah. I mean, straight through high school.
You saw whites only this?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Ride the back of the bus. Just police stopping you for no reason at all.
Wow.
You know, just it was normal. You know, you just learn how to live with that. I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why I got out of the South. You know.
Yeah.
But it was quite challenging for everybody.
Yeah. Do you come from a musical family?
No, nobody in my family. My brother did play drums, but he wasn't that good.
And how did you? What attracted you to the trumpet? Was that your first musical instrument?
Yeah.
What attracted you to the trumpet?
Well, you know, back in the 60s, 50s, we didn't have internet. Mm-hmm. So TV did not stay on like 24/7 like it does.
I remember those days.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically after 6 o'clock, you didn't have nothing to do. There was no TV, there was no internet. Mm-hmm. So you got very bored. Wow. So one of the things I noticed the marching band would be going on games at night, mm-hmm. going to football games at night, and the players used to take the instruments home and practice at mm-hmm. night and stuff like that. So I wanted to have something to do, you know.
Gotcha.
Had all this energy. Mm-hmm. So that's what attracted me to music and everything.
Mm-hmm. So why'd you choose the trumpet?
Well, I what happened is that my brother was older. He's 3 years older than me, and my father, if he bought my brother a pair of shoes, he would buy me a pair. Gotcha. You know, if he bought him a bicycle, he would buy me a bicycle.
Okay.
So what happened that he brought my brother a drum, and so when I was like maybe third grade, so I kept asking my father. I said, "Look, I want to get a drum just like him," you know. So I was too small to get a drum, you know, and they had too many drummers. Everybody wanted to play drums. So one time he had to go to the music store to buy a drum head because a drum head had burst. And so while we was in the store, I begged my father to get me a drum. And so my brother didn't want me to have a drum because he didn't want me tagging behind him, you know. Mm-hmm. So the music salesman talked my father into buying me a trumpet.
Wow.
Because trumpet costs more than the drum. The salesman was trying to make some money. So anyway, he bought the trumpet, and I couldn't play it. Didn't have no instructions, so I was in the 4th grade. So the next day, I couldn't wait to get to school to talk to be tutored by the music teacher, who I had like throughout high school.
What's his name?
Ulysses Miller. Yeah. Very good trumpet player. You know.
Was he really influential in you?
Oh yeah.
Your development?
Oh yeah. Really, he was really good. He was a member of the Alabama State Collegians. He went to Alabama State.
Okay.
So he knew all of these Erskine Hawkins and all. He knew all of them, you know. And he had a good sound on the instrument. So like, in fact, right now, whenever I go home and I play, everybody say, "You sound just like Mr. Miller," you know.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So you got the same kind of sound he has, you know. So that was the first sound I heard. The first sound I heard was a good sound, you know. So it always stayed with me.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah. But he was a good teacher. He started me off in the 4th grade, learned to read music, learned to play in a band, ensemble, learned to listen.
So you were learning how to read music. You were learning formally as you was developing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. And so, did you have did it register with you? Like when I first got the saxophone, it was like, yes, I love this. This is fun.
Right.
You had that same experience?
Oh yeah. I had it.
Wow.
I couldn't take the horn out of my hand, you know.
Really?
Just play it all the time.
Now, did music come natural for you, like learning music?
Not at first, but as anything, the more you do it, it becomes natural, you know. So I was just playing, you know. I didn't know what I was playing.
And you were playing in school? You played in school?
Yeah.
Did y'all have a school marching band and that sort of thing?
Our school, in the segregated South, you went to the same school for 12 years.
Really?
Yeah.
What school was that?
Williamson High School.
Okay. So that was an elementary school, middle school, and high school?
Right. Well, what happened is that the school was like maybe a block from my house. So when I first started the school, in kindergarten, they had double sessions because of segregation. They didn't want to build any other schools for African Americans down there, so we went to school a half a day.
Wow.
And other people went another half a day. And then by the time you got to the 1st grade, you went all day, you know. And the school, when I first started, it was just an elementary school. And by the time I got in the 6th grade, it became a junior high school, elementary school. And then by the time I got in the 9th grade, it became a high school.
Wow.
So I went to the same school for 12 years. So I had the same teacher for 12 years.
Yeah. Now you were Fred Irby III.
Right.
So did you know your grandfather's Fred Irby I and all that?
I didn't know him, but I think I met him when I was young, and I don't remember. But I do know that my great-grandmother was born a slave.
Wow.
Right. And I don't remember her, but she held me in her hands when I was young.
Wow, that's heavy.
Right.
Yeah. I was talking to your sister a couple of weeks ago, and she said they call you Skane. How'd you get?
It was Shane.
I'm not Shane. I'm sorry. Where you get? Why they start calling you Shane?
My brother named me that.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember at Howard, Kevin Levi would call you Shane.
Yeah. Well, that's what whenever I go back to Mobile, some people don't even know. They don't know I'm Fred Irby.
But everybody called you Shane.
Yeah. Right.
Why? Now so you go back every now and then? Is it?
Yeah, I have a son and grandkids in Mobile, so I go back. In fact, I'm going back in July to receive an award, a jazz award. Yeah.
Now, when you go back, does it feel the same as when you was a kid, or is it different?
It kind of feels the same, but I mean, you can tell like everything else is expanded. A lot of the neighborhoods have gone down. People are moving out of the neighborhood. They're moving out into the suburbs and everything. But I kind of see the same. I see the same people, and I go to some of the same restaurants too. So,
when you were coming up, did we get along? Black people, did we get along? And was it the hood?
Yeah, we got along. I mean, it was segregation, so it was all black people. You interact with black people.
Gotcha.
You didn't interact with white folks, unless it was the police.
Yeah.
You know, but we got along very well. You know, in fact, everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
And the fact that I went to the same school for 12 years, that means that the people that were a grade or two ahead of me and a grade or two behind me, we all went to school like 10 or 12 years together. So you knew their family, you knew the brothers and sisters and everybody.
Where'd you get your standard of excellence? Because I know you have a high standard, especially for your students and for people that want to pursue music. Where'd you develop that standard from?
Well, you know, when I look back in the segregated South, we had some excellent teachers. I mean, real smart, PhDs, but they were teaching in the segregation. So they served as role models for us. We had when I was in high school, we had a music theory teacher who had gotten her master's at Fisk University. She was very good. And my band director from Alabama State, he was very good also. So we had good teachers, good English teachers, good history teachers. We had Black history courses that they taught and stuff. You know, we know all about Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver. We knew about all these people and everything.
So you pretty much wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. When did you know you wanted to pursue music as a career?
When I first touched the trumpet.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just had to find my niche or whatever, you know. But when I first touched the trumpet, I knew this is it.
Wow. And what kind of music were you listening to, like, coming up?
I was listening to, like, at school, we was playing a lot of marches, Sousa marches and etudes, solos, and jazz. I listened to a lot of Louis Armstrong.
Gotcha.
And Al Hurt. That's what they was. We would listen to a lot of that in the South, and that was a fellow who was a musician who loved jazz, and he turned me on to Clifford Brown.
Wow.
And he was much older than me, but I used to walk past his house every day, and I used to hear Clifford Brown playing, and I stopped to listen. He said, "Come on in," you know. And he helped me to Clifford Brown, and so I bought a lot of Clifford Brown records. I didn't know what he was playing, but it just sounded so good to me, you know. And then he also hit me to Down Bird too.
Wow. So did you want to be a jazz musician back then, or did you want to play classical trumpet?
I didn't know what I wanted to play. I just wanted to play.
Gotcha.
You know, when you 4th, 5th grade, you don't know what you want to do. You know, I just wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
You know?
But you liked jazz when you first heard it?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Now, were you listening to what was the music of that time? Was it with the 50s, 60s?
What you mean, tunes and stuff like that?
Just on the radio. What kind of music were you listening to?
Well, they basically the radio stations played a lot of R&B, B.B. King.
Were you into all that? You was into all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I listened to everything.
Okay.
You had no choice. That's all they played, you know. And the Beatles.
So how did you find your way? Like, what was it like coming up? You said the South. How'd you find your way to where you are today?
I just kept trying to be a good person.
Okay.
I would show up to rehearsals on time, early, which is that's something you have to learn, you know. I learned to be respectful to people. I learned to help people. And I was very respectful to older people too. I listened to them.
Yeah, no doubt. I did a lot of, I think I did a little bit, but it's not. It's different today.
Right.
You find that with the young people?
Well, one of the things that happened back when I was growing up in the public schools, they had corporal punishment. You don't have that now.
Yeah.
That corporal punishment, you knew that if you're going.
Yeah.
You know.
That makes a difference.
Oh yeah, you know you go up in that. Oh Lord, I'm in trouble now. You know. You had it at home too. At home and at school too.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah. Did you? Were you gigging? And
I started playing when I was in the 5th grade.
Were you gigging around Alabama?
Yeah, in Mobile. I started playing.
You was making money?
Yeah. I was making $5 a night.
Really?
That was a lot of money then. When you consider gas was 15 cents a gallon.
You was making $5 a night?
Yeah.
What kind of music were you playing?
R&B, Jackie Wilson, James Brown, B.B. King. Just music that people could dance to.
And then, so after high school, you wanted to go to college.
Right.
So where did you go?
I went to Grambling State University in Grambling, Louisiana.
What made you choose Grambling?
Well, Grambling had a pipeline to our high school.
Okay.
The 2 football coaches at my high school, Levi Washington, Paul Green, they finished from Grambling. And they were a part of the greatest team that Eddie Robinson had in his whole career.
Wow.
They were undefeated, unscored on, and everything.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they hooked it up with the band director, with our band director, so that he could send all of his kids, his good kids, to Grambling to go to school. And we couldn't go to white schools anyway. And
didn't Grambling have like a famous marching band?
Yeah, that's what I was in.
You was in that marching band?
Yeah. In fact, my freshman year at Grambling, we did the very first Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah, the first Super Bowl. Green Bay Packers and Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
Both of the defensive captains for both of those teams were from Grambling.
Wow. What was your major?
Music education.
Okay. So you knew you wanted to teach music? Or just have a way to make
That was the only degree that they offered.
Oh, gotcha.
They didn't offer a performance degree.
Okay.
Music business, music therapy, music composition. It was just...
Yeah. Now, did you meet Lovin Hines, Mr. Hines, in Grambling?
No, I met Lovin Hines in Atlantic City.
Okay.
I met during the summers. I used to go to Philadelphia to live with my sister, and one of my brother-in-law's cousins had a band that was playing in Atlantic City. Okay. We played behind. We played behind everybody. Arthur Prasad, Supremes, Martin and Vandellas. I met Al Gray. King. I played with King Curtis too.
Wow.
Yeah. And so anyway, he offered me a job in his band in Atlantic City, and Lovett was in that band.
Okay.
But Lovett had just gotten out of the military. Because he was in the military before he came back to Philadelphia. So anyway, we became friends then, and so I persuaded him. Every year I was go up there and play in his band. I would tell him, you need to come down to Grambling, man, go to school. And he thought about it, but he didn't want to major in music because he was an art major. And so I graduated in January 1970, and Lovett came in January 70.
Oh, so he got to Grambling when you left.
Right.
Gotcha.
The very next semester he came.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But we still stayed in touch, you know.
Yeah. And you said you knew Carla, his wife?
Oh yeah, I knew Carla Washington.
Yeah.
She had a brother that played music too. We went to Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Taiwan, Honolulu. So it was a band from Grambling. We did a USO tour.
Yeah, that's why, because Mr. Lovett, he was my introduction to jazz.
Right.
And so to come to Howard and see that you guys knew each other was
Oh yeah. In fact, we gave him the Benny Golson Award.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're still friends too.
Yeah.
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 But he's a great musician. In fact, he's Christian McBride's mentor, right?
Oh yeah. Man, he mentored me, Christian McBride, Jaleel Shaw.
Yeah.
A lot of cats coming up, Joey DeFrancesco.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's responsible for a lot of us.
Oh, I know.
And I remember that's where I first heard jazz.
Right.
I used to go to Silverman Music School, and I used to hear them playing down in the basement. Joey was about 12 or 10, whatever, and these other cats. And man, I just said, "What is this?" And it was Mr. Hines down there with the a jazz ensemble.
Right.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, he's very influential in my development.
He's a great man.
Yes, no doubt. So after you graduated from Grambling, what'd you do?
I got a job teaching at the public schools in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, you went to St. Louis?
Right.
Or you got a gig in St. Louis?
Right.
Okay.
2 weeks after I graduated from college.
Really?
Right.
How long were you in St. Louis?
3.5 years.
Wow. What was St. Louis like?
It was great.
Really?
Oh yeah. I love that time. I didn't want to leave St. Louis. The people there were so nice to me. They took me in. The musicians were very good. I met a lot of musicians.
Oliver Nelson. Yep. Was Oliver Nelson?
No, he was gone.
He was gone. Okay.
I did meet him though. He came back. That was a university at Washington University. He studied there.
Okay.
Yeah, but he came back to give a benefit concert for his teacher. But I met Oliver Lake.
Okay.
Oliver Lake and J.D. Perrin.
Was Clark Terry still?
No, he wasn't living there, but I met him in St. Louis.
Okay. Grant Green.
I didn't meet him.
Okay. Wow. So you was in St. Louis, and so did you get your? You got your master's?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that?
I got my master's at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. In fact, 2016 they put me in the Alumni Hall of Fame for that university.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. So how'd you get to D.C.?
Well, I was offered a job. Some kind of way. The chairman of the music department, who was new, he was from St. Louis. So,
What's his name?
Ralph Patterson.
Mr. Patterson.
Right.
I know Mr. Patterson.
Right.
Yeah.
He was chairman of the music department at an all-girls school in St. Louis called Fontbonne College. Mm-hmm. And he had heard about me. I didn't know him, but he had heard about me. Mm-hmm. So when he got to Howard, they needed someone to come in instrumental music. So he just took a chance on me and hired me.
And what made you say, I'm going to leave St. Louis, which you said you enjoyed, and come to Howard?
Well, what happened, he called me up and offered me the job. And so, because I was playing a lot. I played in the Muni Opera, Six Flags. I was working a lot and teaching too. And I just got married too, And so,
you was making a lot of money?
Not a lot, but I was making more than I had. I was right out of college. I was poor.
Yeah.
And like I said, money was, I was full time in St. Louis. I was making like $7,200 a year.
Gotcha.
That was more. That's more than.
Yeah,
it's not a lot now.
Yeah,
you can't live off that now, but
back then,
you single, and everything. So he offered me a salary, and I turned it down.
Wow.
So anyway, I told some musicians that I just turned down a job to go teach at Howard University, and they were like, they thought I was crazy because a lot of them wanted to get out of St. Louis. I wasn't in a hurry to get out. So and they told me that was a bad decision. I should have gone. Mm-hmm. And I say, why? He said, well, you could play at the Kennedy Center. I didn't even know what the Kennedy Center was. So anyway, they called me back 2 weeks later and offered me more money.
Wow.
And I took the job.
Wow. What year was that?
1974.
Okay. Wow. So who was here at Howard when you got here?
None of the people
that I knew?
No.
Okay.
No, they all.
Now, who were you replacing?
I got hired to come in and recreate the instrumental music program.
Okay.
They didn't have any ensembles at all.
Oh, wow.
They had no concert band, they had no jazz band, and no orchestra at all.
And wasn't Donald Byrd here?
He left in 72.
Okay.
I got that in 74. So for 2 years, that was a 2-year vacuum there.
Wow.
And so, in fact, I didn't meet Donald until like maybe, I got there in 74. I think I met Donald like in the 80s. Mm-hmm. He never came back to campus, and then we became real close after that,
Wow. And so you got to Howard. Did you start the jazz ensemble right when you got to Howard?
No, when I got there, I started a concert band.
Okay.
And then they had another gentleman running the jazz program. And so that was some issues with him and the students and administration. And so he left. And so when he left, Dr. Patterson told me I had to take over the jazz ensemble. And so I had never ran a big band before. But I had common sense, though. I knew what I could do and what I couldn't do. You know? And I played in bands and stuff. You know, I've been playing in orchestras and band, commercial music all my life. So, and I did a lot of writing in college too. So I kind of knew what band was supposed to sound like. And plus, back in the '70s, it was kind of easy to start a jazz band because all you had to do was buy Sammy Nesico's music. Everything he wrote sounded good. You know, and a lot of stage band music, basic. You can buy some bases, some transcriptions. So as opposed to now, you know, just it's quite different now.
Now, who was in your first band, the jazz ensemble?
Okay. My first band.
Who were some of the people in your,
McNeil Anderson.
I know McNeil.
Okay, Al Brevard. And let me see, Noble Jolly.
Guitar.
Noble Jolly. Let me see. I had to sit back and think.
Was Jerry Allen wasn't in your first?
She was in the first band that recorded.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because what happened then when I got there, after I took over the jazz ensemble, I told them that we need some talent. And so I had to go out and recruit. So I didn't know where to go. So I heard that Cass Tech in Detroit was a real famous school because Donald Byrd and Ron Carter, all of them went there. So I went over to Cardozo High School and I asked Calvin Jones, because I knew Calvin. I met Calvin like when I first got, within 2 hours of me moving to D.C., I was in Calvin's office at Cardozo.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Because somebody told me I need to go see Calvin. Because Calvin was playing in the theaters, and I wanted to do all of that, you know. So I met him within 3 hours of me arriving in town.
Wow.
And we sat down and talked. So anytime I had any questions about anything, I would always call Calvin up, you know. And Calvin told me that he knew Marcus Belgrave in Detroit, because Marcus was teaching there. So when I got to Detroit, he gave me his phone number. I called him up and told him who I was, and he told me he was teaching at Cass Tech. I said, well, can I come over there to interview some students? And he said, sure. So I met him at Cass Tech the next day, and I interviewed about 10 students, and 4 of them came to Howard.
Wow.
Jerry was one of them.
Wow. And so you have some wonderful musicians that come through the jazz ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
Now, me and Warren Shad, we always have this debate on what band was the best HUJE. I tell them it was from like 87 to like 92.
Right.
But no, but you at one you had Jerry Allen, Wallace Roney. They were all in the same band.
Yeah, Jerry Allen, Wallace Roney,
Warren Shad,
Greg Osby.
Wow.
What's the tenor player name? Garrett Thompson.
Woo.
Yeah, and Clarence C, the bass player, and Cal DeShield.
Now, Greg Osby, he's from St. Louis, right?
Yeah,
Did you know him from St. Louis?
I was his first teacher.
Really?
I started him off in the 4th grade.
Get out of here.
I was his very first teacher.
Wow.
And you know what? I couldn't teach him enough. I could tell like right away he was just born to play music.
Yeah. Wow.
His mother came up to the school and asked me, what did I do to him? He said, boy, what did you do to this boy? This boy's playing that horn all day.
Wow.
But he had it in him. I mean, I tell people I was his teacher, but I didn't, he was, some people that you kind of teach them the basics, and they just take off, and stuff.
Now, how was Jerry Allen when she first came?
Oh, very creative.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She was writing her own music in 9th, 10th grade. She always wanted to be she's a very smart person as far as music. But she had a voice when she was in college, because we recorded some of her big band things,
Wow.
And all the pieces were very good,
And what about Wallace?
I heard Wallace Roney when he was 13 years old. Wallace was playing in a band, Ben Sands. Ben Sands had a band with Wallace and Anton in it.
His brother.
Yeah, and so Ben Sands was in my first band too. So Ben Sands would always come back up and say, "Mr. Irby, you got to hear this trumpet player I got in my band." I said, "Yeah." He said, "He's real good. He's one of the best trumpet players I've ever heard in my life." So, people tell you that all the time. So I didn't think that much about it. So one day, he asked, "Mr. Irby, can we use the band room to practice?" I said, yeah. So they came up. They was in there practicing. And all of a sudden, they started playing Dolphin Dance. And I heard this trumpet. I said, "Oh, Lord, what is that?"
Yeah.
And I go out in the band room. There's this 13-year-old kid, man, just killing, And so anyway, we kept in touch. And so when he graduated from high school, I said, "You coming to Howard?"
He was living in D.C. at the time.
Yeah.
I think he's from Philly too.
Yeah, he was born in Philly.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. Oh man, what about Gary Thomas?
Gary, do you know Roger Woods? Also?
Yeah.
Well, they're like the Baltimore contingent that Dr. Stone brought to Howard.
Okay.
When he was a band director. So they were from Dr. Stone's high school.
Now Roger had perfect pitch.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. Wow. Dad.
He's a good clarinet player also too. And
Yeah.
In fact, that was his instrument.
Clarinet?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, you think that was your best band? You always talk about. I remember you always talked about that band.
Yeah, they were. I ain't gonna say the best band because we've had some recording that we've done that's better than those recordings. But the technology is better now, and I'm better.
Yeah.
So, but as far as like raw talent, the '79 band was like, that was just unbelievable.
What about Shad?
Oh, he was great. In fact, he was the very first drummer. He came my second year, but my first year when I took the band over, they just sounded like a regular band and stuff like that. Just regular high school band. But Shad made a swing.
Really?
Oh yeah, because his daddy was a great piano player. He used to play with his dad, so he was playing with old men when he was like 15, 16 in clubs.
Yeah.
So when Shad came, college bands didn't sound like that.
Yeah.
Shad made a swing,
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Now I came to Howard because I heard Kevin Levi.
Oh yeah.
Kevin, man, at the time when he was playing jazz, man, he was just used to blow my mind, man.
Oh well,
and he sound great on those recordings.
Oh, I know. Well, there are a lot of people that would hear that was teaching him when he was in school. They always thought that he was probably, if not the best, but one of the best saxophone players to come through Howard.
Yeah.
But like I've been there 51 years. Okay, so what was Howard like before my arrival? Okay, they had Andrew White, they had Jesse Norman, they had Roberta Flack, they had Harold Wheeler, they had Langston Fitzgerald, and a slew of other, Adolphus Hellstark. So the school has always been like loaded with talent.
Wow.
Real talent, So I just kind of like kept the tradition going,
One thing I noticed about the Howard University Jazz Ensembles, they have a signature sound.
Yeah.
Now, would you attribute that to the commission, like the pieces that you would commission? It's like when I listen, even today, it's like this sounds like Howard.
Right.
I don't know if it's the mixing and how you mix it, but it sounds like Howard University Jazz Ensemble.
Right.
What would you attribute that to?
Well, like I said, I did a lot of writing when I was in college, so I know a little bit. I don't write now, but I know a little about orchestration. And I do give the arrangers an umbrella of what I want as far as backgrounds, flugelhorns,
gotcha.
My knowledge of mutes and stuff for trombones and trumpets, So we have a lot of that, and I kind of tell them I don't want the trumpet parts to be too high.
Gotcha.
A lot of unisons and stuff like that. And so a lot of the arrangers, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So when I get a good arranger that writes real good things for my band, I'm always going back to him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
they write good pieces for me.
Yeah. And then you even Chris, some of your students used to write some pieces around the bend. Chris
Roy.
Chris Roy.
Oh yeah, he's a great writer.
Yeah, and I got a couple things on that.
yeah.
But wow.
We encourage all the kids to write.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, when did you start recording? Like going to the studio, and what started you saying I want to record the band and do a recording every year?
Well, what happens is that when I took over the jazz ensemble, it was only supposed to be temporarily because I wasn't hired to do that. And so I told the chairman that when I took it over in January of my freshman year, my first year. And I told him I didn't want to do it. I think you can find somebody else better, you know, that really want to do it, because to have two bands and teach trumpet also, that was a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Plus I wanted to play. I wanted to play music. I wanted to get out in the city and play.
Yeah.
So I would have been dead if I had kept on doing all this. And so I had a meeting with the president of the university, Dr. Cheek, and I told him, I said, I don't want to be doing all these ensembles and stuff like that. He said, well, I want you to have this. He said, everybody wants you to do this. I said, well, if I'm going to do it, you're going to put some more support into the program. He said, what do you need? I said, I need money for music. I need money to travel. I want to go to Europe.
Wow.
and I said, I want to record. So I knew he was going to say no. And he said, okay.
Wow. Dr. James Cheeks?
Yeah. So he paid for us to go to Romania my second year.
Wow.
And I had a whole bunch of freshmen in that band, too. That was Jerry Allen's first year. And then he paid for us to record.
Wow.
And then after we did the first album, he said he wanted us to record every year. He was going to pay for it.
Wow. So he paid for as long as he was the president?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then who paid for it after that?
Well, I had to hustle.
Yeah.
And get some patrons, and there were several people at Howard University that kind of filled that void. One was the director of the Marlon Spingarn Institute. He paid for a couple of them.
Okay.
And then Artist Hampshire, she was the secretary of the board of trustees.
Wow.
And she paid for some. So there were other people other than the president. Felt that Michael Winston. They felt that it was very important for us to do that, you know, and because no other schools were recording and traveling.
Yeah.
And they felt that if anybody's going to be doing that, Howard University should do it.
Yeah. And so how many recordings have it been thus far?
It's been 48. I didn't do one my first year. Okay. And then I missed two during COVID, 2 years. And then this last year I didn't do one.
Yeah.
So I've done I've done 48, but I only did 47 in the United States. We did a live album in Japan. So that's the 48th one.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Now, you ever think about digitizing all those, like?
All the recordings are available in the Howard University Library.
Okay.
But I mean, that's going to be a lot for me to do, you know.
Yeah. Get some young students, they know how to do this stuff.
They can do it if they want.
So you ain't gonna do it. Oh boy.
So recordings are not lost.
Yeah.
They're not lost. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, you left some pretty big shoes to fill. Whoever comes after you they're gonna take over the jazz ensemble. What advice or words of encouragement would you give them?
You know, if you fall down, get up. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Fell down, you get up, you know.
So it's nothing like that is easy.
Right.
Yeah, so
and you'll find your way too, because we had people to come here like with Canatra Miller with Afro Blue.
yeah.
We didn't have no jet vocal
Yeah.
program. She just says if you figure it out.
Yeah.
I remember like Chris McBride told me that he was playing with Wynn, and so Wynn said, "I want you to write this for this band." And he said, "Man, I don't know. I never written that for a band." He said, "You'll figure it out." And you will.
Yeah, yeah.
You will. If you study hard enough, you'll
Yeah.
figure it out, you know.
Okay.
You'll know what you can do and what you can't do.
And are you gonna? What about the music and those arrangements that you've commissioned? What are you doing with all that stuff?
Well, a lot of it's PDF, so I mean they're still there, you know.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, are we gonna still see the Howard University Jazz Ensemble continue?
I hope so. You know, I mean, I'll do everything I can to help.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what retired faculty members do. They give advice.
Okay.
You know, they try to help you. You know, whoever comes and takes over the band, I'll help them.
Good. Beautiful.
Because I mean, you know, when students graduate, they love to come back to their alma mater.
Yeah.
And see new buildings.
Yeah.
And the band especially the band that you played in.
Yeah.
You want to see the band sound good and everything. Same thing like with the football teams. You know, you want to see the football team win, the basketball team win.
Yeah.
You want to see good, positive things from your alma mater.
No doubt. So, what's some of the places that y'all over the years that y'all around the world that you've traveled?
Well, we went to Romania in '76.
Okay.
Bucharest. And we visited several cities in Romania. I can't think of the name of them, but we were based in Bucharest. And then in '84 and '88, we went to the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas and St. Croix. In '87, we went to Beijing, China. And I think '84, we did they call it Caribbean Basin. We went to Trinidad, Haiti, Jamaica, Kingston, and Montego Bay.
Wow.
And then we went to Colombia. In South America, we went to 4 cities in Colombia: Barranquilla, Cali, Medellin, Bogota, and then we went to Nicaragua. El Salvador.
Wow.
No, Guatemala. It was Guatemala.
Okay.
But we passed through all these other countries en route to that,
Yeah.
you know, Panama. And then in '96.
You skipped over the year. We went to Martinique.
Yeah. Well, that was 1990, right?
Yeah.
Martinique. That was a very good trip, too.
Albuquerque.
Yeah. We've been to 13 states.
Wow.
You know. And then back in '96, we went to Japan.
Wow.
We was in 4 cities in Japan.
Didn't you go to Africa?
Yeah, I went there with the smaller group.
Okay.
In 2013.
Yeah. With Aaron Walker. Didn't he go to Africa?
Yeah, he went with Dr. Dawkins.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And he also went with us too to China in '87.
Gotcha.
Right. And we went to Japan 4 times. You know, 2005, 2007, 2009.
Wow. Beautiful.
And Venezuela, I think in 2015.
So it must be a lot of logistics, man, to carry a big band.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then you got to make sure the students in their right mind, and they.
Well, you know, when I was taking all those trips in the '70s and '80s, they didn't have computers.
Yeah.
So if somebody loses their passport, and people do lose things, I've had people to lose passports.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And so I learned how to get myself out of there, because what happened when after the first time, I made everybody make a photocopy of their passport, so if they lost, I had it.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know.
Gotcha.
But I've had people lose passports in Japan, China, Europe. They misplace them.
Yeah.
They don't know where they don't know where they are.
I want to talk about the Calvin Jones Big Band. We just had your last one.
Right.
A week ago?
Right.
Last week. How did that? It initially was called the Big Band Festival.
Right.
Now it's the Calvin Jones Big Band Festival. How did that start?
Well, Bobby Felder called me up and said that he wanted to start a big band festival at UDC. Mm-hmm. And so he said he want us to. He said it wouldn't be a university big band festival if Howard couldn't be in it. Mm-hmm. He said we were going to be the main attraction. Mm-hmm. And I told him, yeah. I said, but at first I told him I agreed to it on one condition. I say we have it at your school 1 year. The next year we have it at Howard. Uh-huh. And so. And he said, okay. And then the second year, we were supposed to go to Howard, and he convinced me to have it at UDC because they had parking. We had no parking at Howard.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so I said, okay.
Gotcha.
So that's how we started.
Yeah.
And then when Calvin died, the president of UDC renamed the festival Calvin Jones Festival.
Now, what year did the festival start?
I think about 36 years ago.
Yeah, I know it. I did in my freshman year at Howard.
Right.
We did it.
Right.
It probably started maybe a year or so before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also you started the Benny Golson Award?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What is for the people, what is the Benny Golson Award?
Okay, back in 1996, Benny Golson was named NEA Jazz Master. Mm-hmm. And so I happened to be talking to Donald Byrd, and Donald Byrd said that we should celebrate him some kind of way. Because Donald was not a jazz master at that time. Mm-hmm. He said, this man is great. He was just saying all these tunes. I know all his tunes. Uh-huh. So I went and talked to the secretary of the Board of Trustees, and I asked them, can they give Benny Golson an honorary doctorate?
Wow.
And she had never heard of him. Mm-hmm. They didn't know who he was. Mm-hmm. And so I told them about all his tunes. I remember Clifford, Blues March, Long Came. Mm-hmm. They know none of that. So I went back and told Donald Byrd that. So Donald said, well, you should create something for him. I said, what should I do? He said, you figure it out. So anyway, I called Benny Golson up, and he hadn't been on his campus in 40 years.
Wow.
Because he was kind of bitter when he left. He wasn't bitter, but he felt that they didn't treat jazz musicians. You couldn't play jazz when he was there.
Yeah, gotcha.
So he always brought that up, And so I said, well, we're going to bring you back and celebrate you.
Wasn't I here when you did that? I remember.
96.
Yeah, I was here. I was around.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was just happy that we were bringing him back,
Yeah.
It was almost like the university's apologizing,
Yeah.
On my behalf, Mm-hmm. So anyway, we brought him back, and the place was jam-packed too,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we came out, the first number we played was the Blues March, and people just started clapping, because mm-hmm. they knew that composition. So anyway, I told them we were going to do it every year, and so every year I would go back over there to the university Board of Trustees and say, look, we need to give Benny Golson an honorary doctorate. So that was the same thing. So they know who he was, and plus he wasn't giving any money to the university too, And so the second year we gave it the award to Frank West. Mm-hmm. I think third year was Frank Foster. Mm-hmm. The fourth year was Clark Terry, and then it's Jimmy Heath, Grady Tate, Yusef Lateef, Hubert Laws. I mean I think it's about 80 people.
Yeah, wow.
Like and this past year we gave it to Sean Jones mm-hmm. and Tim Green, mm-hmm. and also Louis Hayes. But it's been, you've seen the list. Yeah. The list is impressive. And so anyway, I kept on, every year, I would always send them programs and say, we're doing this award for Benny Golson every year. And I didn't, so one year I went over there and I talked to one of the administrators, and I told him, I say, well, he's in a movie that's on TV, that's in the movie, and in theaters now. They said, what movie? I say, The Terminal. Tom Hanks, that was Steven Spielberg's movie. Uh-huh. I said, he's a star of it. It's about him.
Wow.
I said, yeah. And they had seen the movie.
Wow.
But they didn't connect that he's from
yeah.
Howard University and he was real famous. But the movie was all about him.
Yeah, wow.
You know, with that photograph, Great Day in Harlem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we kind of got a little traction. And then 2016, I think, the secretary of the Board of Trustees called me and wanted his phone number. And I was just so happy, you know. And they called him and they wanted him to come and receive an honorary doctorate at graduation.
Wow.
And he couldn't do it because he had a prior commitment. He was going to be in South Korea, and he had a thing that once he commits himself to perform some way, he don't cancel.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, Lord. So I thought that, I said, oh, it's just, you know. But they told him that they would consider him again. And sure enough, the very next year, they considered him. They offered him the degree. He came in and got it.
Really beautiful,
right.
Beautiful.
The same year that Puff Daddy spoke at the graduation.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow, beautiful. Congratulations.
yeah.
No, I mean, sometimes you got to put that, you got to keep pushing.
It took us like 21 years.
Yeah.
Every year. It took us 21 years to do that.
Yeah. It's something to be learned about that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I know he was honored.
Oh, he had gotten degrees from Berkeley, Harvard. He had Yale. I think for 5 schools he had gotten honorary doctorates from because they knew who he was. And he said my own alma mater hasn't recognized me.
Wow.
So he when he got the one from Howard, he said that was the most precious one.
Wow.
Right.
Beautiful. Wow. So are you optimistic about the future of the jazz program and how?
Oh yeah, it's in good hands. Okay. The music program is in good hands.
Y'all got Cyrus Chestnut.
Yeah. We still got Afro Blue there, and Cyrus Chestnut, and we got a very fine music faculty.
Beautiful. Okay. I want now you're a performer,
right?
You know you the lead trumpet. You were the lead trumpet at Kennedy Center.
Yeah, I mean I've been stepping back a little bit, you know, but for most of my career I played first trumpet at the Kennedy Center. Wow.
How'd you get that position?
I just when I came to town, I just wanted to play, so I networked it, and my name got passed around. I started playing, and it just kind of morphed into.
You was good.
Well, you know.
But you were also a good reader as well, right?
Well, you got to be able to read.
Yeah.
You know.
You've always been a stickler about being able to read. Like since I've been a student at Howard,
right.
You've always impressed upon the students being able to read.
Well, you know, believe it or not, most people that play music don't read music.
Yeah.
Especially in the African countries, some of the Asian countries, it passes down by ear.
Yeah.
So, and most people are like that. They have good ears, but they can't. The eyes and the ears don't meet up and everything.
Yeah.
So the ones that can read and develop those skills, they have a special gift.
Yeah.
And they work more.
Yeah. So they get opportunities.
Yeah. They go to recording sessions and they put music in front of you. You know.
Yeah.
Now there's several levels of reading too. That some people can read, and then the other people that can read bass clef and treble clef equally well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that can play. Like you can play an instrument that's in E flat, and then pick up another instrument that's in B flat.
Yeah.
You know, you have the same sound but different fingerings. You know, and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, most saxophone players can't do that. The first person I saw that could do that was Sonny Stitt. You know, but
you got to see Sonny Stitt.
Oh yeah, Sonny Stitt and Gene Ammons together. Yeah.
So you told me a story about them. They were playing.
Yeah, they were playing when I lived in St. Louis. Always they had a club there called La Casa, the jazz house. I don't think it's still there now, but I went there one night, and I think I got there at the last set, and it was just Sonny Stitt, Gene Ammons, an organ player, and a drummer.
Wow.
No bass, no piano, just the organ. Organ player was very good. So I got there the last set, and I think that I think they might have been a little happy that night. I think they might have been lifting too many weights.
Yeah.
So by the time I got there, they were sitting in chairs. So they would stand up when they got ready to take a solo, and so then they sit back down.
Yeah,
They play the head sitting down.
Yeah,
and they stand up. Yeah. So anyway, I think I got there maybe the last 2 or 3 numbers, and then so Stitt announced that he was going to play a ballad, and then he said, and Jug gonna play a ballad after me. They call Gene Ammons Jug. So Sid played Stardust on alto. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, really. I mean, it was. I never heard nothing like that.
Wow.
And he got a standing ovation. So Gene Ammons was just sitting there listening. He didn't say nothing. So it was time for him to play, and he played Here's That Rainy Day. And he didn't play nothing faster than a quarter note.
Wow.
Everything was slow and easy. And he subtoned the whole thing, man.
Wow.
I mean, in fact, it was raining outside. I mean, everybody was like, I thought I was in heaven.
Yeah.
And then I think at the very end, the last note was a low A. You know what? You play a low.
You mean that low B-flat?
Yeah, go down to B. I'm saying he played a low A. You know, B-flat is the lowest note you can play, but he played an A. You know, some tenor players can cuff it.
Oh yeah. Oh, he put it on his leg.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, man. It was in tune, everything, man. I couldn't believe it, and it just canceled Stitt out altogether.
Woo. Well, I wish somebody would have taped that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it's like, I mean, it was like amazing, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to get you I remember back in the 80s when Wynton Marsalis
Right.
first came to the fore.
Right.
What was your impression of Wynton when he came? Because he was able to go from classical to jazz. And what was your takeaway from Wynton Marsalis when he first hit the scene?
When he first hit the scene, I thought, and I still think, that he's the greatest trumpet player that ever lived.
Wow. Wow. That's heavy.
I mean, I could hear it in his playing, in his intonation, sound, everything. You know, on the trumpet, good trumpet players, they play in tune real well.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you could tell they have good training. Like Sean Jones, like it sounded so even and stuff like that. And I heard that in when I first heard him play.
What would you say makes Wynton so special? That's a rhetorical question, but
It's intellect.
Okay.
I don't know any jazz musician that could build a jazz performing arts center in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, building one thing, you got to raise the money.
Yeah.
You got to talk to the right people.
Yeah.
And then to have an orchestra that's on salary, they have health care, they have pension.
Yeah. And you've brought, I think, I remember you bringing Wynton to the school.
Right.
John Faddis.
Right.
And Wiles Rowley.
Right. Marcus Belgrade.
Yeah.
Cecil Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Charles Tolliver.
So you have a personal relationship with many of these people, right?
Yeah. In fact, at one time, the students thought I was bringing too many trumpet players to campus.
Really?
Oh yeah. They say every time you look around, you're bringing these trumpets.
Yeah.
What about trombone and
Yeah.
saxophone
Yeah.
and drummers and stuff like that? You know.
Yeah. Wow.
But I love trumpet players. You know.
Yeah.
Don Bird came and played with us one time. You know.
We almost do. I want to talk about music education.
Okay.
Real quick. What are some of the challenges you see in music education today? Like with as you know, going from where you come from, and where do you see some of the challenges are today?
Well, right now we're having major challenges with these COVID kids.
COVID kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they missed like 2 years of training.
Yeah.
And we're getting them. I mean, we're seeing them now, like especially like some of the seniors now. They missed their last 2 years of high school of playing in bands.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
Right. So we talk about this all the time, you know.
Wow.
And the kids that didn't have any problems were the kids that were being homeschooled.
Yeah.
Because
they were already, that's what they were doing already.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Like my piano player, Alana Butler, well, her parents, they homeschool all their kids.
Do you find the kids today are as hungry as the kid that like we were in the past, like the kids in the past? Are they as focused and hungry?
Some of them are.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But I always go back to the parents.
Okay.
The kids that have good parents, the parents are at all the concerts and always like asking questions, how's he doing?
Gotcha.
Making sure they have good instruments and making sure that they don't have to worry about tuition.
Yeah.
If they have good parents, we don't. Our work is easy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
So, what advice would you give somebody that's a young student that wants to pursue music? Like, what advice would you give that student?
I tell them that you should, if this is really what you want to do, you should do it.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure that this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because some people don't realize that you can be very good and not be able to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And then some people like develop after they get out of college.
Yeah.
If they keep on.
Yeah.
So I've known a bunch of students, man, that came to Howard University, and when they came here, they couldn't pass the theory proficiency exam, so they had to take fundamentals of music, and several of those people have their doctorate now.
Wow. That's interesting.
Right.
Now, you ever to play in any movie tracks and all that?
I did a couple here. That it was a PBS.
Yeah. Played at the Grammys and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did the Oscars for 4 years.
Okay.
And I did the Grammys, 96 Grammys. And I played a movie out in L.A. called Alvin and the Chipmunks. I did that. That was back in 2017.
Now, how did you get those gigs? Like, is it just people know you and they know?
Well, people knew me from being at the Kennedy Center.
Okay.
And so I met a lot of contractors in New York and L.A.
Okay.
They would come to town, put bands together, and I would always be playing first trumpet for those bands, and I would always try to be helpful to them too. I remember one year I was doing a TV show. In fact, it's one of the greatest bands I ever played in. The band was George Graham was playing lead trumpet. Roy Hargrove was in the band. Al Gray was playing trombone. Dave Taylor was playing bass trombone. Dave Steinmeier. Frank West was playing lead alto. First tenor was Frank Foster. Ron Carter was playing bass.
Wow.
Kenny Burrell was playing guitar. James Williams was playing piano. And Brian Brake, not Blade. Brian Brake was playing drums.
Wow.
And Harold Wheeler was conducting.
Wow.
So that was a very good band. But anyway, we was rehearsing, and they didn't have enough music for the show. When I say they had music for the feature acts, but they needed pieces to play in between the acts.
Gotcha.
And so somebody told the contractor that Fred Irby has music up at Howard University. So they asked me, could I bring some music the next day for the rehearsals? I said, sure. So I brought about 10 pieces. They only used they used April in Paris and In the Mood. I had things that everybody could play. And so the contractor was like really happy because they had to find me. He was from L.A. He didn't live here. So somebody had to he needed assistance.
Wow.
And so I brought the music up, and they didn't pay me, and I didn't ask for no money.
Yeah.
You know. So a couple of days after they called me up to thank me for helping them out in a jam, he say, if I can use you for a TV show in LA, would you come out here? I say, sure. So that's how I started going to LA.
Wow. Beautiful. Do you still plan on being involved in education in some way?
I don't want to actually be like in the classroom every day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I'll go and speak to kids.
Okay.
And speak
Adjudicate and all that kind of
Yeah, do that.
kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, we wanted that. You've gotten, I mentioned, you got a bunch of awards
Right.
and recognition. So I was gonna get you a plaque or something. I said, man, you.
I ain't gonna have nowhere to put it.
So that's what I'm saying. So I got you 2 cards.
Okay.
But you in 2023, you were inducted into the Downbeat Magazine Hall of Fame for jazz education.
Right.
Wow, that's. How'd you feel about that?
Feel good. I mean, I'm in good company, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Who else is? You know, some other people that's in.
Yeah, a bunch of educators that
Gotcha.
that have done, you know.
What's my man name? His son used to play saxophone player. He used to be the vice president, I think, of the
Willie Hill.
Willie Hill. How's he doing?
He's doing really good. In fact, I talked to him yesterday. In fact, both of us are going down to Mobile in July to receive a jazz award.
Wow. Tell him I said hello.
Yeah, his son Byron.
Yes. Yeah. How's he doing? How about
He's doing good. He lives in Shanghai.
Really?
Yeah, he's been there for 20 years.
Okay.
And he's playing, married.
Yeah.
Got kids.
Yeah. Well, tell him I said hello.
Yeah, he came to visit about this summer.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And then you received the 2025 Legends Award for Jazz Education.
Right.
By the Jazz Education Network Conference.
Right.
So man, you getting your flowers while you here. You know you getting your flowers while you here, right?
Well, you know, awards are it's great to be recognized. You know, people appreciate you, and I've got so many compliments, and especially like the last 2 years, so many people who are not musicians, they have congratulated me at being at Howard University for 50 years.
Yeah. And you don't see it all that you've done until after you looking back on it, right?
Right.
You just kind of.
Well, you kind of moving, you know. You kind of working, you know. You playing music and you go on teaching. You get up, do the same thing the next day, and you know it's really been fun, really. You know, to think of like during the summers, I would say like, okay, I want my band to play these charts here. So you go out and find the charts, or you get somebody to write them, and then you work on it all year, and then you go in the studio and you record it, then you mix it, and then you work with the engineer, mixing it, making sure everything is right, and then you got to get someone to do the artwork. I usually get the students in the art department to create the images for the art, and then you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing, you know. You've done records, you know. You got to pay for records.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you know, you want to get a good engineer, somebody, because most engineers they can't. I'm not saying they can't do it, but their work with big bands is not as good as some.
Yeah.
Some know how to. They have the right mics.
Yeah.
They know how to do it. And I know with the engineer that I have now, Bob Dawson at Bias, you know. In fact, when I went to his studio, we had done about 15 records, 15 years.
Yeah.
And when the first time I went there in '92, it was like he didn't tell me, but it was like telling me that he didn't say it, but it was. I got the feeling that he didn't think I knew what I was doing, which he was right. Because he didn't ask me nothing. He said, "Okay, y'all sit over here. Y'all do this." And it turned out perfect.
Yeah. But over the years, you've you developed an ear for what you want.
Oh yeah. You do 48 years of recording. You learn a lot of things. You learn what you can do, how to do it.
Yeah.
Along with, and not only that, but the technique, technology changed so much.
Yeah.
Wow. From the very first record, we were doing like LPs.
Yeah.
Then we started doing cassettes.
Yeah.
And then we started doing CDs. Now nobody's buying no CDs. So I think we have the record online. We have CDs.
Yeah.
But we also have the record online. So I've sent it to so many people on my phone.
Yeah.
But
so what you want your legacy? What would you want your legacy to be?
I don't know. I just want to be that I made a difference.
Gotcha. Yeah, you have done that.
Right.
I mean, all the kids, all the students, man, that come through.
Right.
Myself. We could be up here all day rattling them off, man.
Yeah.
That must, that's, and we all bonded kind of because we come through this institution.
Oh yeah.
It binds us, whether you were in the 70s or the new kids today, we kind of it brings us together.
And the other thing too, I want the kids to feel that they got something when they came to Howard. Some of them went on trips.
Yeah,
I remember we went to China. One of the trumpet players had never been on an airplane before.
Yeah.
It's the first time on an airplane, and he's riding like to China.
Yeah.
And also one of the students, we went to Japan, 2000, like I said, 96, but we also went to 2005, 2007, 2009, and he was a freshman in 2005, and he stayed to get his master's. So he went to Japan every other year the whole time he was there.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris Steele.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Right.
That's
so I feel they got something, and also like for all these masters that I got to be in Ghost was especially the first ones. In fact, some of the later ones too. But if you can say that, I was on stage with Jimmy Heath.
Yeah.
I was on stage with Sonny Rollins.
Yeah. Wynton Marsalis.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Faddis.
Yeah, and so 50 years from now, when they start telling people and you show them pictures of this, that here it is right here with him, and they say, man, that must have been amazing,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah,
so kids have that. They always look back, what did I get in college? I mean, when I was in college, you've heard of William Grant Still, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, very famous classical composer. He came to my college and conducted our concert band in one of his pieces.
Really?
Yeah, he's like the dean of African American classical composers.
Yeah.
Right. And George Walker came to Howard. Ulysses K wrote a piece for me.
Wow.
So when you look back at all these experiences that you had, and like I said, to be at Howard, be at Grambling, and all these people coming through there and getting a chance to talk to them. And
didn't you just tell me you got to see Louis Armstrong?
Yeah, I met Louis Armstrong.
Wow, you met Louis Armstrong?
Yeah.
And you was telling me about some remember you told me the other day about Louis Armstrong took a picture.
Now what happened is that they had this lady, this diva, who was on the Howard University music faculty. Mm-hmm. Her name was Matilda Dobbs.
Miss Dobbs.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Her nephew was Maynard Jackson, who was the very first African American mayor of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Right. So anyway, she would always go out and do recitals, and so several times she went out. She took me with her, and we did some Baroque arias and things like that. I was playing Piccolo Trumpet. So anyway, at one of the rehearsals at her house, I went over there, and so I was looking at all the artworks because she was a renowned artist. She lived in Sweden, but she sung in Paris and Italy, Germany. I mean, all the great conductors, they liked her. In fact, she was the very first African American to sing at the La Scala Opera House in Italy. So anyway, I was over her house and I saw this picture of it was like a sketch of Louis Armstrong. And I looked at it, I said, oh man, that's amazing. And so she said, and I asked her about it, and she said, I said, where'd you get this? She said, well, because it had Louis Armstrong's signature. He signed it.
Wow.
You know. So I asked her, I said, where'd you get this? She said, well, I was in London singing opera, and Louis Armstrong was on the other side of town playing at the Palladium. So I asked my husband to take me over to see Louis Armstrong. So her husband, who was Swedish, he knew Louis Armstrong personally. So they went to the concert, and after the concert, she said, can we go backstage and meet him? And he said, sure. So he went back there and told the ushers that his name, and they let Louis Armstrong representative know that he was there. And so they gave him permission to go back. So he went back into his dressing room, and there was an English artist that was sketching him.
Wow.
And so when they finished sketching him, Louis Armstrong looked at it and he showed it to her. And she said, oh, Louis, that looks just like you. And so thank you. So Louis Armstrong said, would you like to have it?
Wow.
And she said, sure. Said, can you sign it?
Wow.
So he signed it to Matter and Bink. He said, keep on keeping on, kids.
Wow.
Saxophone, and do a little trumpet there. So he gave it to her. So it was in her house, and I knew the story. So every time I went over there, I looked at it. So when she retired, she brought it up to the school and came out of my office and Miss Irby, I'm getting ready to retire from Howard. And I know every time you come to my house, you always look at this. So I'm going to give you this as a gift. So she gave it to me.
Really?
Yeah.
With Louis Armstrong's signature?
Signature, yeah.
Wow. That is something. Where'd you see Louis Armstrong at?
I saw him in Atlantic City. In fact, Lovett Hines and we were playing at this, it was called a Wonder Garden. This was before they had gambling in Atlantic City. And so we used to go to the boardwalk and eat. And so Louis Armstrong was playing at Steel Pier, I think. And we couldn't go in because we had to play. We just went to get something to eat. And so right as we went to the stage door at the Steel Pier, and he was coming out of the stage door, and they say somebody said Louis Armstrong will be coming out here in the next 15 minutes, going to this hotel. So I said, I'm gonna wait, you know. Yeah. So I waited there, and so when he came out, I was standing right by the line, and so soon as he came out, his eyes jumped right at me.
Wow.
You know, it was like he was walking. He saw me because he saw me staring at him, and so I put my hand out. He just shook my hand and kept moving. You know.
Wow. You ever see Duke Ellington?
Yeah, I saw Duke Ellington in St. Louis when I lived in St. Louis. Yeah. Wow. Duke Ellington. I saw Harry Carney was playing with him. Cootie. Russell Prokofiev was playing.
You ever see Train?
No, I never saw Train.
What about Cannonball?
Yeah, I saw Cannonball at the Playboy Club in St. Louis.
Wow.
It was Cannonball, Nat, George Duke,
really,
Walter Booker, and Roy McCurdy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, how you remember all these names?
Well, because they're my heroes.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I met. You know, I knew Walter. You know, Walter Booker. His father was on the Howard University hospital staff.
Wow.
He's a doctor.
Oh, wow.
You know, Dexter Gordon's father graduated from Howard University Hospital. Med school.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, you got a lot of history, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I admire these. These are my heroes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't forget stuff like that. You
Gotcha. All right, man. So what do you plan on doing in retirement? Well, what are you looking forward to do?
You know, sometimes when you see basketball players and they say like, how do you do this? You say, well, I let the game come to me.
Gotcha.
So retirement's gonna come to me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'll figure something out. You know.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you. This is an honor for me. So.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor for me to be here with you too, man.
Yeah, man. So I want and congratulations. Thank you for your service to the for students at Howard and just education, man. And wish you the best in your retirement. And if you can give me a gig,
Yeah.
Keep me in mind.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
All right.
There it is, the one and only Mr. Fred Irby III, Shane, right here on A Conversation in Jazz. And we'll see you on the next one.